Thank you. Oh, no, there's no problem. Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Hello, everyone. Good morning. Yeah. Well, I really don't know what I'll be able to say after my senior Oga have finished. He has raised the bar. The standard is so high, and I hope I'll be able to at least just, even if it's by a fraction. But I'm happy to be here, and honestly, I want to commend his courage. I want to commend his passion. I want to commend his personal leadership. He is not preaching or teaching what he's not practicing. Can anybody? Okay, maybe you cannot. Maybe the result is not showing very well yet. But behind every successful person, I know you think I wanted to say is a woman, is actually effective personal leadership. I'm not going against the popular cliche of behind a successful man is a woman. No, but I'm saying behind a successful person is truly an effective personal leadership system running the engine. So, and I want to commend his passion and his personal leadership. He's teaching what he's practicing, and we will all be witnesses. You can count how many of us are here today. In another couple of years, we will all be witnesses that we're there together in New Diamond something suit where we were barely 10, and today you can barely count. We were barely 10, but soon you'll barely be able to count. Are you not happy for that? Please, can we celebrate him? Thank you very much for the opportunity you are giving me to be part of this success. Okay, so I will back up to the previous. I wish your aspect ratio can balance, but it's fine. So I'll be talking about critical thinking, and the way I even wrote the critical thinking is in a funny way, because the subject itself is supposed to make you look at things from different perspectives. Right? I'm not skipping, I'm not jumping to something I hope to talk about later, but just to give a background to it. Anyway, before I go into my topic, I want to say something about some of the things he had taught earlier that got to me. Again, about personal leadership. If you truly can lead yourself, you truly can lead anyone or anything. And if you cannot lead yourself, just like he said, you can hardly lead anything successfully. But that's not even where I want to share a personal story that further buttresses what he talked about, personal vision, because he mentioned vision. So there's a strong connection between personal leadership and personal vision, because generally, like he mentioned, vision is what truly fuels leadership. So where there is a lack of vision, in other words, we don't know. I want to say it in our Nigerian language. We don't know where would they go. Where would they go? If you don't know where we are going, then and what is leadership? Its definition: leadership is taking a person or a group of people to a particular defined destination. So if the destination is not defined, leadership, where there's no destination, there's no need for leadership. Leadership is worthless. So you see, it all starts from your personal vision. And he talked about writing it down. If you don't take anything out from here, please take that out. If that's the only thing that you get from the session, from this quarter's Deactivate conference, it is something that has the potential to change your life forever. And I am not mixing words. And my story goes like this. So in 2016, 17, I was still a core member. So And we, so I was serving in Ekiti, and then there was paucity of funds, right? And but one thing that I had taken as a personal practice was to write down the things, God was dealing with me on, or the things God was telling me. And I was staying in a single room, not a self-contained, in a single room. And so, but in my room, I was lying, that my mattress was on the floor. I'm not trying to give you a picture of a ridiculous experience of an awful experience. But so there was really nothing really in the room. But what I had in that room were my vision, ideas, goals, written and pasted boldly on the wall. So the one wall of the room was literally filled with papers, hanging on the walls and all of that. Then there was this season. He talked about personal leadership being what will help you to achieve your life's goals. But I also want to tell you that it will also help you to stay alive. It will literally help you stay alive. It will keep you going. Please, when did I start? 5 minutes ago? 5 minutes ago, I suppose. 6 minutes ago, thank you. So, it will literally keep you alive. It will keep you going. And that's the importance. That is one importance of writing it down. So there was a season. A season came, and the Son of Man was totally broke. He was so broke. He had no food, and he will not ask anybody. He won't beg. He won't call home. If they call him and ask him, "How are you?" "Oh, everything is fine. We thank God." But the guy is broke. So broke that he barely had food to eat. So I would go for days. I could go for me, I turned it into like a marathon fast. Where I would go without food for like 2-3 days. I wasn't really fasting until I converted it in my mind. 2-3 days, no food. Then on the third day, maybe I go visit one of my friends. Then they will say, there's Gary. Are you asking me, or you are? And we will consume that Gary. I will consume it with so much joy and excitement, and it will carry me for another 3 days. I'll just take water. And I was going to the office, and while we're working, where my PPA was very demanding. So there was so much to do. So I'll go to work. Nobody knew. I went on for 2 weeks. But I can tell you that what sustained me within that 2 weeks was those things I wrote on the wall. I remember very, very, very vividly. There were days that my stomach was behaving as though it was going to burst. It was going to tear. But I would stand up, I would sit down, lie down, roll on the bed with so much pain. Hunger is dealing with me. But I would stand up and rehearse those things I've written on the wall, where I see myself in the next 5 years. Those things I had written as a vision. Those things I had written down, as my life's goal, and those I will rehearse them to myself. I will say them, and I don't stop there. So from saying those things to myself, I can now take another 2 hours to pray. It went from what do we call that now? It went from declaration to prayers, literally. And once I do that can keep me going. Like I can forget. I've not eaten for 2 days, and then I forgot I've not eaten. And I'm not joking. I got strength from those things written on the wall. Literally speaking, I was able to draw nutrients from those things written on the wall. So I just wanted to give a practical story that will further maybe encourage somebody to put to practice the things that you are hearing here, because they are not stories, they are not things read from the book. They were not you see, what you are hearing are the things that have the potency to really help you as an individual. And the only way they will really help you, the only way that you'll be able to, it is not head knowledge, it's about what it does to you. So if you don't put it to practice, you will have so much information that you are doing nothing with. You can imagine having to procure a lot of resources, and then all you do with it is to keep it in the store. It doesn't benefit anybody. So that's just an addition to further buttress what my Oga had earlier. Did anybody get anything from it? Are you going to write your personal goals and vision? Are you going to put it somewhere conspicuous so you can look at it and remind yourself about it? It's very important. And I must tell you that few years down the line, I am reaping the harvest. Honestly speaking, there are many times I don't have it on the wall again because vision is dynamic, it's transient, it's translational. You see, because the Bible tells us we see in part and we know in part. What I was seeing that time, I think I have been able to outgrow some of those. So what I say by vision is dynamic is that you should be able to upgrade or update your vision. Your vision should not be a cast in stone. There's a long shot, yes. If you have not gotten it, fine. But remember that in the course of his teaching, he mentioned that you need to outdo. He said potential is in your very words. Potential is what? I know I wrote it down. Just let me check. Potential is, and that I'm just hearing that for the first time, and I took note of it. He said potential, you never arrive. You always push the boundaries. You never arrive. Vision, you never arrive. Oh, you arrive, but after you have arrived, push forward, right? So that's what I mean by vision is dynamic, right? So are we on the same page? Okay. I don't like that we're so serious, but I mean, I guess that's the tone we have to use. So God will help me to be serious with us as well. Okay, so next slide, please. Thank you. Yeah, thank you. So we want to just do a quick pre-class assessment, so I don't cover anybody. First of all, we want to know, I know at the beginning you were asked, what is your reason for being here? And a couple of persons said very nice things. But I want to ask, because on the flyer it is clear what the theme is: conversations on personal leadership and critical thinking. So now that you are in the critical thinking class, what do you hope to get from this class? What do you intend to take away from this class? And anybody is free to answer. And I would have preferred that we all answer, but for want of time, we'll just random selection. This auntie was raising her hand. She did something like this. Just give her. She has something to say. She did like this. So what do you intend to take from this class, the critical thinking class? So you tell us your name and what you hope to benefit from the class. Yeah, hallelujah, amen. We can hear you, don't worry, we can hear you.
My name is Tsado. What I want to benefit from this class, I believe that you have power-packed message to somebody to do it.
Then she played a smart one, but no problem. Let's not drag it. Please thank you very much, Favor. Please, you can give it to somebody else. The way this brother is smiling, please give him. I just hope that he doesn't finish my presentation before I start, because the way he's smiling is like he has read volumes about it. Hallelujah.
Okay. I think concern pastor or senior brother.
Yes, our senior pastor is fine. You can actually say our senior pastor.
Okay, our senior brother. Okay, we're talking about this leadership. What are the places that we have connection to this? So maybe a team of what no one said on the other. I find it that it's really not easy motivate people. Understand? So when the topic came, I was like, okay, let me come and maybe I'll learn something new that is different from the way I used to do things. Understand? So that's one of the reasons. Yes. So
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Josh. Sorry, did I get your name? Is that your name?
No.
Eben, okay, thank you, thank you. Okay, one more person. One more person. We've had two from here, so let's. I don't know whether our host wants to help us say something. Thank you, ma. Okay, all of you are playing smart, but no problem. I will go with the answers. Even though it was specific to the critical thinking class, where we are supposed to be talking about, but nobody is saying anything about it. The way this my brother is looking with his suit, with his coat, I won't give, don't give him. All right, thank you very much for those who answered, and those who would have answered, but for want of time, let's just hit the road run. So I want to quickly test your knowledge or test your understanding. When we say critical thinking, it's a combination of two words, right? So we are talking about first thinking, and then how does this thinking become, critical in nature? And then, and all of the other things that we're going to talk about. So, but just to test, to know whether I'm going to skip the definition of critical thinking. So let's ask ourselves, what does it mean to think? What is thinking about? What does it mean to think? Anybody wants to give a shot? Yes, please. Yes, sir.
I think thinking is putting all the theories, putting all the possible variables in front of you and making the best shots for a situation. Right?
Excellent.
Critical thinking, going one step ahead. Now you're not only just putting the variables, you are putting both variables, you are putting both pros and cons. Looking at what we do or what we don't follow, maybe take each route, or possibly cutting the route. We are looking at, okay, what will be the fallout of this route? What will not be the fallout of this route? What will be the long-term effect? What will be the short-term effect?
Excellent. Thank you. Please, can we put our hands together for him? He spoke like a statistician. Said, put all the variables. Or a mathematician. Thank you. Yes, please. What is thinking and what is critical thinking? No answer is wrong, absolutely wrong. And no answer is absolutely correct either. We all have our varied opinions, and it's fine.
Like I said, I need people thinking.
Yeah. Don't worry, let me read it first.
Thinking is taking into considerations about something. Then critical thinking for me, it's being deliberate about those considerations you're taking.
Very fantastic. Please, can we also appreciate that? Thank you. I think I'll go with those two definitions. You have really simplified, because I fear that my own definition, though adopted, might be complex. And since Mr. Josh have set a standard to simplify things, I'll borrow from your definitions to make my own, much simpler. But like we rightly said, thinking is actively engaging your mind. To probe into situations, to probe into a particular thing. That's thinking, right? And it doesn't have to be. It can range from the list of things, to the most significant of things. But it is basically about engaging your mind, to probe into different situations. And then critical thinking, like we said, is going further to investigate greater details about that situation, to find out a pathway through that situation, out of the situation, around the situation, whatever it takes, to bring it down. Next slide. Thank you. Please, when I say some good things, clap for me. All right, so like we said, thinking simply is the process of using your mind to understand matters or situations, to make judgments, to solve problems. And what's critical thinking? Critical thinking has been defined by intellectuals and other people as an intellectually disciplined process of actively and skillfully conceptualizing. I like us to take note of critical words: conceptualizing, analyzing, applying, synthesizing, and/or evaluating information gathered from or gathered by observation, experience, reflection, reasoning, or communication as a guide to transforming belief or making informed action. Like I said, my definition is complex, but it's robust. Can we give a short way to rehearse it together? Because if you understand what it is, then you probably will be able to practice it, right? So let's try and, let's rehearse the critical thinking definition. Can we go together? 1, 2, go. Thank you very much. So let's just do a little test. I'm going to cover the board. What critical word, what keywords did you find? What keywords did you find in the definition you just read? Yes, if you want to, just one per person. Observing, yes. Conceptualizing, yes. Synthesizing, somebody said. Analyzing, yes. Applying, skillfully, yes. There's like a billion words still remaining. Actively, okay. Communication, important. Discipline, good. Action. Belief, okay. Yes. Nobody said process. Because critical thinking itself is first of all an intellectual process, right? In other words, you don't just arrive at it. That's one. Secondly, the intended outcome is not just arrived at. Two things said in one. You don't just arrive at it, and the intended outcome is not just arrived at. So it's a process, and we're going to examine the process of critical thinking. So let's look at the keywords that we've been able to identify. So we have one, intellectually disciplined process. That is a very important keyword taken from that definition. Critical thinking is not just intellectual, it involves discipline. So if you are not a disciplined person, you cannot practice critical thinking. You cannot engage your intellect. You cannot actively and skillfully engage your mind to conceptualize, to analyze, to synthesize, to evaluate, and to apply certain situations that you gathered from. So what that tells you is that every time you engage with things or with people, you are gathering information. So we are constantly in an information gathering process. You see, but what you do with the information is what makes the difference. So we have as the process or the methods: observation, experience, reflection, reasoning, communication. But every time you open your eyes, every time you look at things, every time you discuss with people, even right now that you are here, you are amassing information, massive, explosive information. And that's where it starts from. What does information or pieces of information will do to you is to give your mind something to juggle on. But you can decide to either engage your mind on frivolities or let that thing sink. And in the Bible, it is called meditation. Right? It's called meditation. And there are several instances. I hope I remember. It's not amongst my slide, but I hope I remember towards the end, if we have time. for me to give some examples in the Bible of people who really engaged critical thinking and how it brought huge transformation to their lives and to the people around them. Because in the end, the objective, as we're going to see, is that critical thinking helps you as an individual and helps the people around you. So, you constantly gather information. The intent is that it is able to transform your beliefs. It's able to shake your beliefs. That's what critical thinking, that's the outcome. It's able to shake some of your beliefs. It's able to make you make informed decisions and actions. And that will go a long way to determine what your life comes out to be. Next slide, please. So at least you can make sense of what critical thinking is all about right now. First of all, it is not about something big. You are gathering information. I can look at my sister now and say, the way she packed her hair, and I can take that as a subject of reasoning. I can dwell on it, and based on that, and that's how psychologists operate. Based on that, I probably might be able to say a lot about her. It's just engaging your mind, just engaging your mind. And the extent to which you can engage your mind determines the extent to which you'll be able to transform your life. And I'm not a motivational speaker. I'm not trying to Maguire to acquire. I'm not. But really, that's what it is, man. The extent to which you engage your mind determines the extent to which you can transform your life. There's a very strong connection between personal leadership and critical thinking. A very strong connection. Because when you understand what personal leadership is all about, what you need to translate, you need critical thinking to provide the molding blocks for what personal leadership will build upon. In other words, you are supposed to lead yourself, but lead yourself to what? Lead yourself by what? Critical thinking fills that gap. It bridges the gap to answer the question of what, how, when, where. And when you have this information, answers this information, by personal leadership, you can put wheels to it, right? You can put wheels, because a car without wheels, with all of the sophisticated whatever inside, at best, it's just stuck there. So you have all the sophistication, critical thinking. But personal leadership, they are the four wheels that makes the motion to happen. Have I been able to establish a good connection between the previous session and this session? So with all that Pastor Josh said earlier, if you really want to be able to lead yourself, you must know to what you want to lead yourself. And to know to what is to engage critical thinking. Is to gather information by all means, observation, communication, and then carry that information, to develop a very sustainable pathway to get yourself to a particular destination. And what's leadership? Heading to the destination, but you need to know how to get there. So in a brief, we can look at the relationship between personal leadership and critical thinking as the relationship between a sophisticated G-Wagon without tires. The relationship between the body, the chassis, the engine, the everything, that is critical thinking. I mean, it took critical thinking to put those things in place, man. It did. I'm a mechanical engineer. But don't ask me to fix your car. It won't move again. But it takes a lot of design, engineering, mathematics, calculation, and all that. You enter your aeroplane and you are going. But Bernoulli has put a lot of things in place. So the Bernoulli's principle is there. You go into fluid mechanics to understand aerodynamics and what have you and all of that. Thinking. But without wheels, without tires, it goes nowhere. Personal leadership. So, just in a nutshell, to establish, and then I move on to continue my teaching. Critical thinking helps you to answer the question of how and where. You see, but personal leadership is what answers the question or how do we go from here? It answers the question. It responds to motion, right? Why critical thinking? It puts all the structures, all the ideas, and everything in place. But personal leadership drives them. All right. So, what is the purpose of thinking critically? While I have said some already, the purpose of critical thinking is to be able to ultimately solve problems. So the question to ask: do we have problems? Are there problems? In fact, there are people that have problems themselves. So there are problems everywhere. He said something very profound, and I wrote, and now I'm quoting, that the world is broken, critically broken, and one of the ways to be able to provide solutions is critical thinking. Let me say it again. The world is broken. I quote Pastor Josh, and I add to what he has said to give it some. I add adjectives to it. Critically broken, and you require critical thinking to be able to develop the right solutions to fix this broken world. Does it make sense? So critical thinking is essentially about problem solving. But how do you solve a problem that is bigger than you? How do you solve a problem you don't understand? How do you solve a problem you have no idea about what this problem is all about? For instance, there are so many politicians in our country today who know by virtue of general knowledge that the country, there are too many problems in this country, right? But they have no clue about truly understanding what the problem is or how to go about solving the problem. And that's why, unless we have somebody who truly understands the problem of the country and understands how to go about solving it, we will recycle failed leadership or failed leaders, because really that's what it is. So critical thinking helps you to sit on the problem, understand the problem, and then from there you can now develop a solution to fix the problem. And do we have problems? Everybody. You have personal problems, family problems, and I'm not talking about witches or wizards. Problems, life situation, life's problems. Every day you wake up, there's a challenge. Every day you are alive, there's a problem to deal with. Really, always a problem to deal with. What critical thinking helps you to do is to be able to face your problems and be able to fix those problems. Face those problems, you are able to develop the approach, the best approach to solving that problem. That's what critical thinking does. But I will always make reference to the previous session. What personal leadership now does for you is to execute that approach. Do you understand? Critical thinking helps you establish the approach, helps you figure out the problem, helps you understand the problem, helps you to develop a solution that is truly sustainable to solve that problem, but it won't solve the problem. That's why we have so many solutions that can fix Nigeria in publications. So many solutions inside publication, academic research publications, personal research publications. We have this man now. Let him open his laptop for you now. You will see all the research and all the ideas to change Nigeria that are there, right? But if they remain in his laptop, and to mention this, now that we have defined, there's a way they mentioned politicians that made them look like they are not leaders, right? In a way. Otherwise, I wanted to say this is a politician, in the making. And, the way he actively talks about this, that approach, this one. If I give him this mic now, the next 3 hours, this brother will give you a template to transform this country. But if he doesn't, by the mechanism of personal leadership, put deliberate action in place, that idea will stay there. They will stay there. They will stay there. And Miles Monroe once said that the richest place on earth is where? It's the grave. And why is that? Because so many things, so many ideas, so many solutions that didn't, see the light of day, either by procrastination, either by situation, or whatever means, it didn't shall come out, and he ended there in the grave. So again, I always make reference to personal leadership so that we can go out with a very balanced connection between the two sessions. And I'm happy that you didn't just conceptualize a topic to speak and motivate people to lead themselves. You brought a balance to it so that we can talk about how do we actually even go about what we are talking about, right? So problem, not a minute. Critical thinking helps you solve real problems. Now, but what I also want to add to this is that we have one of the major problems we face is that we are having, and we always talk about in this country, is what? Unemployment, right? Unemployment, youth unemployment or underemployment. Underemployment is very different from unemployment. Unemployment is a job no day. Underemployment, I take it like that. At least let me have something doing. You know that you have a master's degree and you took a job and all they are do you get? That's underemployment. You took something way below your true standard or your true capability. Underemployment. And we have the two of them actively in this country. Actively. After somebody have gone to read law, gone to law school, graduated and everything, you go to the bar and ask the person how much you collect, 50,000 naira. And all that. So, but critical thinking is a quality that employers are looking for. The ability to think critically. You might write it in your CV, but when push comes to shove, perform. If you don't have it inside you, it's easy to fire. It's very easy. I mean, there's no cast in stone that you must keep the person forever. So, if you really want to, I don't know if you are, so there are people who like to be employed and there are people who like to run their show. You like to run your show. Okay. So I have some hands. It's okay to be employed. You want a good job, comfortable, nice. Now, why are you looking backward? Now, if you truly want to get the kind of job that you desire, beyond your certificates, and this is why many employers don't go with what you write. They don't even go with your certificate. It's good, but that's why you always come for interview. Some of them will even go a long way to give you exam. You write examination. You get, because they want to be sure that you have the requisite skills for the job. But critical thinking is a skill that puts other skills together, I will tell you. Because even if you don't know how to write, if you can think critically, you can develop yourself to become a good writer. You can literally develop yourself, to acquire certain skills that you don't have, because you're able to think through the process. I don't know if I make sense to you. So one of the reasons why you need to engage critical thinking is because employers want job candidates who can evaluate a situation using logical thought and offer the best solution. The best solution is very important. And one way you quickly get promoted if you are an employed person, whether you're employed or not employed, one way you grow your business as a self-employed person or as an employer of labor is the ability to think critically. And we'll come to that, right? So just to establish a good background, and I'm still doing introduction to my topic. Next slide, please. I heard you, even though you just whispered, but I heard you. It's fine. You think I'm looking at the time. And I said that by pure sarcasm to say I'm just introducing. I'm almost done, but we are about to go into the crux of the discussion. Now, we've said that critical thinking helps you to solve problems, right? Now, helps you to develop a solution. Is that not so? So how do you think a solution? So thinking solution, understanding the problem-solving loop. I took this from the internet. Some of the pictures you will see here, I didn't design them myself. I'm not a graphics designer. right? So I took them from the picture, from the internet. So in case you are browsing, you won't say, he just went to go and mappier pictures. He just mappier them. This is a disclaimer. They were mappiered from the internet, okay? All right, so the problem solving loop. When I found this, I found it very interesting and very useful to the conversation, so I just took it. The first is for you to identify the problem. That's where it starts from. You need to identify a problem you do not know, you cannot solve. So you need to be able to identify this problem. I will use our sister as a case study. Sister Joy. Sister Joy. But God, don't worry, joy will not finish from your life. So, Sister Loretta's business. She's a startup. She's a hairstylist, and she's looking to grow her business. She's looking to have branches scattered around Abuja, around Nigeria, Africa, and the entire world. Such a very big vision. So I'll use her as a case study. She mentioned a situation. So again, like I said, we're entering to the crux of it. Many people don't identify problems, they only identify situations, or they only identify the manifestations of the problems. So she says, customers don't come, right? Oh, I've not been getting customers as much as I get. Some people will tag it as a problem. So if we are going to do like an assessment now, to say let's do a root cause analysis of a situation. So we bring a situation here and keep and say, oh, this stuff is cracked. Let's do a root cause analysis. You know, people will look at the situation and not the root of the situation. Do you get? So there's what you call a root cause analysis. It's not something, and please bear in mind that this critical thinking, maybe you have to do a critical thinking 2.1 or 2.0, because this is just introduction. Really, there's a whole dimension to it. So we'll just scratch a bit of it. Take it home, work with it. Maybe by the next what do you call it? The next edition, we can now press on from there. People will have performance results to show, oh, from the previous introduction we have this. So where do we go from here? So that it's a systematic but you know, the problem is not that people are not coming. That's the manifestation of the problem. The problem can be maybe you are not strategically positioned. You went to go and stay in a lungu, and people don't know that there's even something happening there. That can be your problem. You are so good, but the people that patronize you are the people that know you, because they don't know that you are there. That can be that. You get? That's identifying the problem. Oh, you got some money, maybe you got some down loan, or you got a grant, or you just got some money, some support from family, and you're able to get a good shop somewhere, very strategic. But maybe the design on your billboard, you use green, dark green, brown, red, then some patches of yellow. It can never be seen. So maybe your publicity or your advert strategy or materials are ineffective. You need to redesign. You need to rethink. Right? So I'm only giving as an example so that we are able to relate with what it is. That's for a business. How about you as an individual? Right? Because you must be able to take this and make it personal. You must be able to take it and transform yourself first. So, my brother, I'll use as a case study. Apologies, I hope it's fine. He mentioned, he lamented about time, right? He lamented so much about time. And maybe you have a personal struggle with time management. Like, what I mean by time management is I'm not speaking to timeliness, where you are on 8 o'clock, they say you should be there, you are there 8 o'clock. That's not what I'm talking about, being able to achieve so much within the time that you have available to you. So, let's say you have issues with time management, right? And it's been a concern to you, and every time they talk about it, oh, you say, so what's your problem? Say, my problem is time management. Your problem is not time management. The problem is that you have not identified what is making you not manage your time. Time, you don't waste it, you use it for other things. So the only thing is that if you don't use it for the right thing, we now call it wasted. But you are using it for something. Either you are sleeping, eating, seeing a movie, WhatsApping, social media, and what have you. But you are definitely using for something. It might be productive or not productive, but you are using it. Time is being spent. But one way or the other is being spent. Even if you are sleeping, it's being spent, right? So the manifestation is that there's 4 time management. So, but what is the root cause? You don't need to itemize a lot of things. Do I eat too much? Because food can be a bane. You can eat too much and then next 1 hour you are useless. No, really, you are useless. You can't do anything. So when you know that in the morning, so there was a time when I eat in the morning, oh God, the morning is almost as good as wasted. See, around 1 or 2 or maybe 12 or 1 before I will now wake up and then be able to do something. And the day is already halfway gone. Right? So I had to, this is an enemy. Food is good, but eating in the morning for me became, and within that period I don't eat in the morning. I stopped eating in the morning for a long time. But now I eat in the morning once in a while when I'm hungry. But whether I'm hungry that time or not hungry, once food enter this mouth, half of the day is gone already. What's the problem? Is it time management? Is it my fault? Shouldn't I eat again? So I have to identify, food is the problem. I stopped eating food in the morning. Did it work? Very, very well. That is identifying the problem. I'm spending more time talking about identifying the problem because if you don't know the problem, you can't solve it. You can't solve it. You will think you are solving it, but you are solving the wrong thing. We are trying to drive a nail into this wood. We are trying to put a nail there. The nail is here. You are striking here. By striking here, will this nail go inside? It don't go inside. And that's what many people do with their lives, man. They just keep, hitting at the wrong things. Oh, by the time I go for this seminar, I will be. So maybe some people came here and say, maybe by the time I come here, my life will be better. You need to know what the problem really is. Are we making any sense? Okay, good. So the first knot on the loop is to identify the problem, and the second is to now begin to do explorative study. You begin to try to analyze and understand the problem, right? You are trying to now expose the problem to now figure out what exactly the dynamics of the problem. Host, I know that you are looking at your time, but I want to announce to you because I'm also looking at it. So explore information and create ideas. So you need to, begin to understand, browse about it. If you feel like you always feel tired, it's okay to go online and browse. Why do I always feel tired? Causes of tiredness, of continuous tiredness. That is part of exploring this, trying to understand it. That is part of understanding the problem. You've identified it. You need to understand it, right? So you go on to that. Then while you are looking at, you now find out that the reason why you are always tired is because you sleep late, and the reason why you sleep late is because there's a brother you're always talking to, that even though, yes, you people are looking to, but you are talking late into the night, and then you wake up and your day is almost as good as wasted. And then the cycle begins before you recover. By the time you are almost at the peak of recovery, another call now comes in around 7 p.m. Then people will talk 7 p.m. You say, I want to eat around 9 p.m. I'll call you back 11 p.m. Then by 11 p.m. you will now talk till around maybe. Then you see that you find out at the end of the day that you are investing your time. Maybe you will end up having a very wonderful relationship and marriage. But one of the things that really will tell in your marriage, a successful marriage is a successful life. If a success, and when I mean success, I'm not saying money or achievements or that. I'm saying that you're able to order your life right according to God's plan and purpose for you. So when a successful man marries a successful woman whose heads are straight, their lives organized, they know what God wants them to do, they are following on with it. Good. 2 good heads, not just 2 heads. Join together. But when you invest so much time on all these things and then you cannot organize your life, by the time you could come together, collateral damage. And that's what. So you need to be able to prioritize a lot of things. So I gave that illustration to say that you now identify the problem, and then you can decide what is the best approach. That's what we now call selecting the best idea. And you see, it is not rocket science. Not so select the best idea, right? And then you can begin to build the idea. You're going to say, okay, let's talk. So what we'll do now is that let's see how we can talk after work. So when I'm on my way from work, we can be talking. When I get home, we'll keep talking, right? I'm using this very general example. Then we can talk maybe. But once it's around 7, we can say a good night. Or 8 o'clock, I say good night. You can call maybe around 10 if I don't sleep early to just say good night. Let's talk for like just 2 minutes and let's be disciplined with it. Let's test it and see. That's what I'm going to. Let's do what? We'll try and see. Let's just try it. If it works, fantastic. If it doesn't, we'll re-strategize. Let's say, okay, you now say that 2 minutes you're supposed to talk to say good night. You now call, you now start giving me a story. We'll now talk for 30 minutes. It's not working. We need to read. So it's that we expunge that component of the strategy completely or find a way around it. That is building and testing. So you test, retest, and then you can now update, your idea or your plan. And then, of course, if it is working, you will know it is working. You will see that you're able to achieve the things that you want to achieve, right? That's where evaluation comes into place. This one is working very well, but this is not working well. Okay, what if I do it like this? So that's testing and retesting. And that's what life really is much about. Testing and retesting until you're able to get, a perfect or a best fitting solution to it. You see, this applies generally. We're using very basic examples. But as basic as these examples are, you can take this loop, this strategy, this approach, and take it into any corporate space and use it to solve real problems. I don't know if we're together. You can take it and use it to solve real problems. You can take it, apply it to your life, and use it to solve real problems. We'll have case study later, and maybe, I'm thinking now, maybe somebody will give us, whoever doesn't mind and wants to be a case study, we can use the person as a practical example, right? So the person can come and tell us the situation. Because what is critical thinking? There must be a situation. It's not just about thinking about the movie we watched yesterday. There must be a situation we're looking at. So, we can maybe take a very practical case study. Somebody who doesn't mind and wants to share a problem that is not going to be denting in any way to the person's personality, and we can maybe use that person as a case study. And that will also help us to assess whether all of the things we have heard today is going to make any impact, whether we're going to apply. Next slide, please. But are we getting anything at all? Okay. So what is the biggest asset to critical thinking? And the answer is simple: questions. The biggest asset to critical thinking is questions. If you can ask questions, if you can be curious enough, then you can be able to develop solutions, right? If you can ask questions, why is this happening? Where did this start from? That's why even doctors, that's not what they apply. When you meet them, they begin to diagnose and then they ask you questions. Questions are assets. But the problem is that people ask useless questions. But questions are truly assets. Now, who asks? Who not asks the loss? How do you say it? Who asks? How do you say it? Now, who not asks the loss? If you ask questions, you will be set right. So questions are truly assets generally to life. If you find a very confident child, a very organized child, very confident at the age of 5, for instance, or 10, or even more, if you check, the parents have time to entertain all manner and all forms of questions. You see timid children? Yes, they are the ones that there are people who are just keep to themselves, but they are not timid. They just keep to themselves, but not timid. But you see timid children, check, they were mostly shut down or shut out, mostly. You are asking nonsense questions, always asking questions, always asking questions. But if you can answer, their questions, they grow up to become very confident, very bold, very organized, very coordinated and all that. I have 5 minutes more. There's no problem. So ask the right questions, ask thought-provoking questions. Please, I'm not Josh, please. Josh kept his 1 hour. I don't intend to keep. I'll keep to my. I will try. So can we go to the next slide? So thinking the right thoughts or thought-provoking questions will help, provoke your mind to begin to think in different dimensions. So questions help you to unlock, open your mind, and allows you to think within, beyond, around, on top, beside, and between the box or boxes, as it were. So what's different between thinking and worrying? Thinking and worrying. Maybe this is somebody's question and I'm answering it now, because sometimes I had earlier said that when people think that they are looking at the problems, they are actually just looking at the manifestation of the real problem. The same way, when people think that they are thinking, they are actually not thinking, they are just worrying, right? So there's a very thin line between thinking and worrying, and solving personal problems through critical thinking. You might be thinking to solve a problem, but you are actually worrying about the problem. Thinking, and what's the difference between the two of them? The difference between thinking and worrying is simple. Thinking is asking questions to solve the problem. Worrying is asking questions to expand the problem, not with the intent of understanding the problem. Because when you are asking questions to expand the problem, you are maybe looking for the real problem inside it. But worrying is that you are just making it, you are expanding it beyond proportion. You are just making it big to weigh yourself down. What's another way to tell whether you are thinking or whether you are worrying? When you are thinking, you are getting ideas, you are excited, you are energized, you are on fire, right? But when you are worrying, you are depressed, you are discouraged, you are frustrated, you are tired, you want to give up, and some people will literally homicide or suicide, just take themselves, right? Because instead of thinking, they were worrying. Thinking solves problem. Worrying expands the problem. Thinking brings the problem to an end. Worrying elongates the problem. So you can easily tell, very easily, whether the thoughts are strategic or whether the thoughts are just scattered around, why or this and all that. So next slide, please. The next slide is going to be a very funny one, because I just wanted to quickly jump into talking about inhibitors to critical thinking. Inhibitors to critical thinking. See, because we have said all these things now, but there are also very other little practices that will really affect your thinking. There are times that when you want to think and you really want to, and that's why our definition says is what? An intellectually disciplined process. There is always discipline to it. You see, you cannot be pondering about a particular problem to find a solution to it and be entertaining distracting calls, except that call is going to facilitate because your thoughts, they are like the web, right? They are like it's like connecting to a wave, and by the time you allow another wave to interfere, what that wave was carrying, it's like you are talking. It's like you are using your phone, your touchlight phone, or even your not regular phone to listen to the radio, right? And they were saying something, and a call comes in. The two are waves. Telecom engineer, computer engineer. The two are waves, right? My time is up. It's not. I think it's remaining like 3 minutes. Remaining 3 minutes. Okay, 4 minutes. Okay, 4 minutes. Thank you. So, the two are waves. One came superimposed over the other. By the time you finish that call, will you hear what the broadcaster or the host was saying when you were on that call? That wave that carried what that person was saying had gone. The only way to hear it again is if there's a record somewhere. Do you understand? That's how it works as well. So when you're thinking, it's a wave. Your mind is connecting to information. It's a wave, right? By the time another wave comes and superimposes, you probably might not get what it. So you will just lose very vital, tangible information that's supposed to solve the problem. So there are inhibitors to thinking critically. And we need to also identify what these inhibitors are. Because maybe for some of us, what is truly affecting us is that we've not been able to identify these things, these weeds, and separate them from the weeds. And that's why our lives seem to be such a very huge struggle, going merry-go-round. No, sorry, not your merry. Merry-go-round and all that. So I decided out of several inhibitors to speak to one. One inhibitor, and that is, so who can tell me what this is all about? It looks very obvious, but maybe it's not as obvious. So maybe it's not. Don't just assume that you understand what this is saying. You need to also critically look at it. So what do you think this picture is saying? Who wants to give a shot to it? Who wants to give a shot to it? My sister, you're welcome. You're welcome. She walked in, very quietly. No, she's been around since, so not now. But when she was coming in, she came in very quietly. And do you want to help us? What's the picture saying? Just say anything. Even if it's reminding you of burger problem, whatever it is. Okay, who wants to try? Nobody. Away. Nobody wants to give a shot to this. You are thinking critically. Oh. You're analyzing it. Oh, wow, this problem must be very big. My sister, no, Sister Precious. I heard you when you called her name earlier, so I was thinking that unfortunately I've forgotten. Sister Precious, please, I know you understand it. Tell us what is it? Host, it's question I answer. I ask question. They are not answering. It's not my time. It's not my. I can never be my time. Please, can you answer? Yes, please.
From our point of view, we are told to eat when you're at work. Because I believe from the way this man is dressed at work, so he ate a lot of, this is the after results. So I feel there are some certain type of food to eat for some certain type of occasion. And if you are going to go, don't eat again.
Okay.
Because it affects your productivity as well.
Okay, nice. So how do you connect this? The topic here is inhibitors to subtopic, inhibitors to critical thinking. So how do you connect it to critical thinking? You answered very right. But how do we connect it to critical thinking?
If I should eat such food, my mind might not be able to take.
Okay. So you'll be thinking about the food.
At a point in time, if you are trying to go higher, you remember 10 height.
Last one. On a lighter note, please. Yes, sir, please.
Protein is a food that has high calories and particularly intense to slow system. That's why to work for our population. Because of the nature of the food we eat, you can see that we can no longer deliver what we are supposed to do. That's why it's left protein and less as well.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. So, the only reason why we went all this long journey is because I said, look at it critically. And by saying looking at it critically, what I deliberately did that So now make your mind to begin to think as if there was something, as if it was a puzzle, and there's something at the back that you are not seeing. So, but I like the answers. They were very good, and they are going to give us some extra insights. But what I'm saying here, literally, and what this is saying, is that food is good, but there's the amount of food you will eat. You cannot think. In fact, you cannot do it. Let me tell you, I've observed that it's changing now. So earlier, even up to early this year, when I eat, once I finish eating, I feel tired and sleepy. Does it happen to anybody? It's only me. Or it happens to you too. I have a weakness. I just while I'm finishing the food, but it's as if I just want to sleep. I feel tired. But it's changing now. I've not really observed it very well. There's a kind of food you will eat, and it won't allow you to think. And there's the amount of food you will eat, you won't be able to do anything again. So you need to watch food. One of the inhibitors to critical thinking is food. That's what we are trying to say. Food can be food is good. Now somebody will argue with me, and I'm not mentioning any name, that you need calorie to think, because he has said that to me, that you need calorie to think. But it's not. So what you really need to think, what you really need as something to consume to think, if you are not hungry, is water. I'm not a medical person. Is just take lots of water when you are thinking. Take lots of water when you are thinking. And if you need to, take vitamin enhanced water. You put vitamins in water and what have you. But what I'm saying in essence is you need more fluid when you are thinking than food. What you need more is what? Fluid. This is practical I'm giving you now. You need more food, less food. That's why you find that in corporate settings, when they are having business meetings or board meetings, do they bring amala there? What do they bring? Coffee. Say coffee. They bring coffee and water. And that's why we are not dishing food in this meeting. So is that not why? Is that not part of the why? Even though we can put the why now, but maybe we didn't think about it that time. But let's put it now. That's why you have water, so that you can think while that session is going on. You don't give them heavy food. They just put coffee and maybe biscuits and sweets, right? And this, beyond the jokes, this is actually very important. And for some of you who like eating very heavy, it has to be fufu or amala or something, or eba, right? Please, let's watch it. You look at me again. And there are some people. Next slide, please. And some of you who like slap mouth gari, watch it too. You are beginning to laugh too much. I'm suspecting you. It's like that's his best food. So, case studies. Host, I kept my time. I've rounded off. I'm done. I want to ask questions now. That's what the case study is all about. Can I go on to the question? Is it okay? I'm helping you ask questions. Is it okay? I still have another slide after this one that talks about questions. My apologies, please. So, just a very quick case study to be sure that we understood what we are saying. Did we gain anything from the discussion? Any? No, nobody is waving. Anything?
Yes, sir.
Okay. We will know now. So let's just do a quick test, please. You run a small business. For some of us who can't see it from far, read. Please, you can just listen. You run a small business. Choose a business of interest. We have 2 case studies. You can choose your hairstyle. You have a business too, right? Because you think about that business. Think about that your business. You have been making some profits, but you haven't broken even after 2 years. Meanwhile, you should have broken even by the 6th month. Use the skills that have just been introduced to you to develop a clear path to make your business more viable and productive. Do you understand the case study? It's not a question, it's a case study. It's a practical situation. Do you understand it? Do we understand it? We don't? Because you need to be able to translate knowledge and information to situations like this. So you have a business running. You are making some profits. But you're supposed to have broken even. You have been running this business for 2 years. You ought to have broken even according to analysis, business analysis, by the 6th month. But 2 years down, you have not broken even. And your profits are not even coming so much. And it's not a good situation, right? So how do you use the skills you just learned, the critical thinking skills, to solve this problem? That's one. The second case study, you have been recently employed as the operations manager of a cleaning company in Abuja. The company seeks to double its revenue. What as the operations manager will you do to achieve this? So these are 2 case studies. I wish we can handle them in this class, but because we are going to have a critical thinking 2.0, and because I would like to continue from where I stopped, I need to stop now so they don't say he doesn't stick to his time. Honestly, I stick to my time. But it's just that this one, because it's introduction, I took more time. Do you understand? Because if you introduce it properly, you can build from it. So this is the end of it. Next slide is question and answer. And I'll just allow you to take questions and answer. And we'll proceed from there. But did you learn anything at all?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.